Welcome everybody to the December 18th Old Colony Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting. On today's agenda, we have two guest speakers. Jed Hresco from Brockton Bikes. He's going to be talking about World Day of Remembrance. And then we have Karen Foster from All Out Adventures. She'll be talking about ADA accessibility. And then Sean Bailey will be going over bike and ped projects in the Old Colony region. And then Matthew Dyer will be discussing Brockton Bike Town at the Baker School in Brockton and the Beat the Bay State Challenge. First we'll do just some quick introductions. My name is Kyle Mowat. I'm a senior transportation planner here at OCPC. Let's go to Sean.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Sean Bailey. I am also a senior transportation planner at Old Colony Planning Council, and I will pass it off to Charles Kilmer.
Hi, thank you, Sean. I'm Charles Kilmer, Deputy Director and Transportation Program Manager with OCPC. And we'll pass the baton to Matt Dyer.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Matt Dyer. I'm a Senior Transportation Planner here at Old Colony Planning. And I'll pass it on to Barbara LaChance.
Good afternoon, everybody. Barbara LaChance. I'm the District 5 planner, and I'll pass it on to my assistant, Cheryl. She may be having technical difficulties.
It looks like she's muted.
Charlene Senior is also here with us from D5.
All right, we'll go on to Go-Chang.
Good afternoon. My name is Go-Chang Lee, the Principal Transportation Planner with Old Colony Planning Council. I will pass it to Andrew Bider.
Hello, I'm Andrew Vidal, GIS Manager at Old Colony Planning Council.
Let's go to Bonnie. How about John Stone?
Hi, everyone. John Stone, DPW Director, Town of Abington.
Karen Foster.
I'm Karen Foster. I'm the Executive Director of All Out Adventures. We're based out in Northampton.
Next, Paul Umano. I think that's it. Did I cover everybody? Well, it looks like Jed Hresco just joined us. Jed, if you want to just do a quick introduction, who you are.
Hi, my name is Jed Hresco. I started a group in this past year called Brockton Bikes. And as a result, we got involved with some street safety issues, much broader than bikes.
Thank you.
I'm Alexis, joining from Mass Bike, also out in the Valley.
Thank you, Alexis.
And I'm Allison Shane. I'm the OCPC delegate for the town of Duxbury.
Thank you, Allison. All right, I think that's it for introductions. We can move on to, looks like you're first, Jed, for the guest speakers. So I don't know if you need to share your screen for anything, or we can just have a discussion, whatever you want to do.
Okay, where would I start? And I don't even know how much time I have. I guess keep it brief. So we started a group. So I've been in Brockton 5 years. I'm originally from Boston. In Boston, I participated in some of those mass rides, Critical Mass, Ride for Black Lives, etc., which often, there used to be a thing called First Fridays, where they have a mass ride of 200, 500 people on a Friday. And so I wanted to do that in Brockton for a while. And in July, we decided just to do it, and we held our first ride on the first Friday of July. And so the idea is that they're just memorable. It's an easy way, like, okay, the first Friday of every month, a bunch of cyclists meet in downtown Brockton, and then we go for a ride that's usually about 7 to 10 miles. So we usually ride both on the streets of Brockton and up into DW Field Park. But the group is not really about cycling. I mean, even though we enjoy cycling, it's about building community. And I mean that quite literally, so like we ride as fast as the slowest rider, we like to say, right? And we've always felt like we would adjust the ride based on the level of the people there. So if we have a lot of very experienced or confident cyclists, then we would go on major streets, right? And sort of, not challenge the cars, but make our presence known. And if we have, less experienced people, or, we've got one person who likes to ride on the sidewalk, unfortunately, we adjust in that direction. So Yolando Spinola, as most of you know, he's also a member of our bike group, and he brought the World Day of Remembrance opportunity to us, so the Mass Bike had a mini grant program for funds to put on events for the World Day of Remembrance for road safety traffic victims. So we did an event here on the day after, on the Monday, and we decided, instead of using the funds for PA system or stuff that was temporal, refreshments, that we would spend it on signs, which we would carry in a protest march, basically, and then distribute throughout Brockton. And so the sign says, "Hey, Brockton, we deserve safe streets," and safe streets is big. And it's a double meaning, or double levels. So it's both saying to the city, capital C city, the city of Brockton, the city officials, traffic commission, et cetera, that we need safe streets, but it's also a message to drivers because I personally believe that the responsibility exists on all levels. So we need everything from, intersection reconfigurations to a broad public service campaign. So we had that march. Mary Waldron from OCPC and another person from OCPC joined us as well. And we marched to a site where there were 2 different deaths in 2022 at the corner of Nye Avenue and Pleasant Street. And then we rerouted the march in response to a woman had posted on Facebook that her son had been hit by someone who on Newbury Street, who literally got out of the car and gave the kid $100 and then drove off. So I tried to find her. I went to her house. I tried to get her to participate in the march. She did not. But regardless, we marched to the site of where that accident occurred to try to get the neighbors to cooperate, because they have cameras, and she had been trying to get them to cooperate. And then the day after we had this march, a 16-year-old girl got hit at the intersection of Lawrence Avenue and Grove Streets. And it's pretty clear. So it's a very wide intersection, way too much pavement. There's no formal slip lanes in the sense there's no island, but the curves are so wide, it's in effect like a slip lane. And the driver probably stopped at the stop sign, but still was taking this very broad curve and hit the girl, who was not crossing in the middle of the intersection at all, but further down, where the street was narrower, but put her in the blind spot. And many places in Brockton where we do have crosswalks, which we often do not, the crosswalks are set back from the corner. Like if you go up Warren Ave, many of those side streets, the crosswalks are set too far back and they're in the blind spot. And then I know that Brockton's numbers overall are actually better than last year, looking at the DOT data, but the last few weeks is just a spate of one incident after another. And in the sense of the people online, the community, that, the hell's going on in Brockton. So we had the Miss Etienne, who was killed on North Main Street, crossing her child to a school in the afternoon. That was probably the week after. And there's just been serious incidents like almost every single day. Statistically, looking at Mass DOT, it looks like we have basically 2 bad crashes a day on average. So The most recent thing we did, we've been distributing the signs. We have 40 of these signs up around in Brockton. We've got another 10 we could give out, or no, another 8 we could give out. And we went to the Traffic Commission hearing, which was supposed to be the 5th of December. And the incident with the 16-year-old in that intersection was on the agenda. So we went there specifically to advocate for narrowing the intersection. That meeting got postponed because they lacked a quorum of voting members. It's not a good reflection, but the meeting was held after all on the 12th, and the commission did agree to study the intersection. And then Mary made the offer of having OCPC do a study of the intersection. So that's where that stands. But we're looking at this in a much broader sense than a specific intersection. And I think probably what the next thing that on the future would be, so the city councilor who put that incident on the agenda, Jeff Thompson, I've talked to him about a city council hearing. He's currently envisioning something probably more limited, meaning in front of the Public Safety Committee and having me as a guest. I'm imagining something much broader, like let's get the postal workers in, the school crossing guards, the school bus drivers, maybe delivery drivers, as well as victims. Like let's get the whole, let's just put the whole thing on the table and have this be taken as seriously as it should. So I could stop at that.
Does anybody have any questions for Jed? Right. So you said you guys, your bike rides, where do you typically leave from?
Oh, so we leave from Brockton Beer Company.
Okay.
That's actually why we got them started in July. Is that we knew they were in trouble. This was a way to basically bring people there and business wise, and also we feel it as a community space that's just so-called third space, right? It's a community space where people feel welcome and I should say also our group is quite diverse already in terms of folks feeling welcome, but we want to branch out to folks who's wouldn't normally be seen as cyclists, right? And folks whose first language is not English, but I live downtown. You see people biking all around. They don't necessarily have helmets. They might be going to work. They might never have heard a bike group, but they're just a working class guy. We want to try to reach out to those people, and we're going to talk to Mass Bike about their bike lights program. But again, even that's different than in other cities. Like in other cities, Mass Bike sort of posts up on a busy thoroughfare where lots of cyclists are and waves them over and says, "Hey, you need lights." Here, we'd have to be a little bit different because as we know, we don't have cyclists going by every 5 minutes necessarily, but they are here, right? So.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for coming and chatting with us for a little bit. We can.
Kyle, if I could just as not only the executive director here, but also a Brockton resident, I just want to give Jed his just appreciation, right? When we are working on many of these projects, not just here in Brockton, but across our region, it comes from all areas. Like having a resident and having the community come and participate is critical to the work that we do. And I do think that Jed, with your leadership and being constantly at these meetings and bringing the message is important. And having you be part of this group now and actively participating would be great. It will, I think, show ways that we can, as we are engaged in our communities, just different ways that we're able to keep that message important. And these numbers are pretty stark for what's happened over the last couple of weeks. So just a thank you to you, and glad to have you be part of this these conversations.
No, thank you. And I will say I should have said more explicitly. I mean, our goals with the city council action partly is that we want Brockton. We know Brockton needs to formally adopt of course, I got a brain freeze now. Adopt the Vision Zero principles and whatever else it needs to adopt, so that we can be on the good side of Mass DOT and US DOT, and not have them feel like they're throwing good money after bad because the city has not formally committed to those principles. That'd be one of the goals. I think another goal would be if things need to happen differently in the budget, like we need more dedicated traffic folks, or I know that the traffic commission budget has actually a lot of money, $500,000, and 300 grand for signs, but they can't pay for instruction, road reconfigurations. Those are at the mercy of the mayor telling DPW to do it and finding the money to do it. So that part, but also I think that Brockton lacks systemic stuff, for example, in the aftermath of an accident. So aftermath of an accident, the bumpers are still laying there on the street. One of the traffic commission people talked about this bad intersection of Belmont and West Elm, where the stop signs are missing from 2 prior accidents. So how does that happen that nobody goes and now he noticed it and it has been taken care of, but how does that happen that nobody goes and says, oh, okay, this got damaged, this is missing, etc. So that's the one part I want to say. And then the other thing, we are interested in things positive, not just fighting the negative. So, one of our very grandiose ideas is a bike path along the commuter rail right away from Campello to Montello. That's obviously very aspirational, but we are forward thinking or forward looking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jed.
Kyle Alexis has her hand raised.
Oh, thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Hi there. I'm Alexis from Mass Bike, and I'm just looking at the map. Not particularly familiar with the area. Do you have a shared use path that's already established in town anywhere, or bike lanes?
So if you go to like Ride with GPS or one of those biking sites and you turn on the bike map, bike lane layer, there's literally 2. There's about 6-block stretch of Main Street downtown, and then there's West Elm Street where they're explicit bike paths. Now that said, our streets are wide, sort of in a sense, more like of a town. So we have a lot of streets like Pleasant Street where the gutter is an informal bike lane and it is wide enough to be reasonably safe. I'll put it that way. Some streets like Crescent are not wide enough for that, but some are. And statistically, the number of bike deaths or injuries in Brockton is not the same as Boston or Cambridge. So like our getting involved in the safe streets thing is really about pedestrians, drivers, and passengers. They've been the main victims of these accidents.
I guess my follow-up question is, do you have any bike counters on those shared use paths for numbers of people using them? And could Old Colony help with bike counters if you have them? If you don't have them?
I'm not aware of them. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we don't currently have bike or ped counters, but we are actually looking into purchasing some in the near future. So we can definitely help with that.
Yeah.
Going forward.
It's usually a good first step for getting actual data, because like every town that I've ever been in these kind of meetings are like, oh, nobody bikes in this town, and you do the counts and they're really high numbers, but without data, it's hard to create a precedent for building more infrastructure.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else before we move forward? All right. Thanks again, Jed. All right, so we'll move forward with our next guest speaker, which is Karen Foster. Karen, if you need me to make you co-host to share your screen, I can do that.
Yeah, if you could do that, it's a lot more fun if we see pictures.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm talking about, yeah.
I'll stop my share.
Right. You all see a bunch of happy people on bikes?
Yes.
All right, great. Thanks for having me. The goal today was just to sort of introduce All Out Adventures and accessible cycling, particularly with folks who may not be familiar with it. I'm happy to answer any questions. I won't take too long introducing it, but just kind of want to make it known what we're up to. So All Out Adventures, we're relatively small nonprofit based in Northampton. We were actually founded in 2001, really in response to actions after the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, and work to make the state park system accessible to visitors with disabilities. There's all of the physical infrastructure improvements that were done, but there was really a deep awareness that to make the parks truly accessible to visitors with disabilities, programmatic support would be needed. And so that's where we come in, is we provide, year-round about 230 outdoor recreation programs each year, primarily in the state parks, but also in municipal bike paths and ponds and things like that, to make the outdoors accessible to all. We're most known for, as I mentioned, our programs in partnership with the state parks. The state parks has a whole division called the Universal Access Program, that's focused on accessibility to park visitors with disabilities. We also run a whole program series for people living with brain injuries, and we have a federal grant to serve veterans through the Federal Adaptive Sports Grants. And then we run private programs, like we run a cycling series in Natick, and we'll have a new one in Holliston this year, to make their municipal paths accessible to riders with disabilities. So this is sort of the breadth of what we do. I love winter, so we're getting ready. We're going out ice skating tomorrow in North Adams. We do actually run skating programs in Brockton. So I've heard some Brockton folks, but we come down on a series of Sundays over the winter for ice skating. We're out year round with a whole variety of activities, and pickleball is one of our newer activities. You got to get on it. The trends. So that's what we're up to. And, I think one of the things that has come up, and so this is a presentation I worked on with Josh Ostroff from Natick. There can be different philosophies about like what it means to make the outdoors accessible to visitors with disabilities. And for us as an organization, our real philosophy is active participation. So I know there's like this whole trend, it's called pedal through youth, of people sort of rickshaw bikes out picking up seniors at assisted living residences and going for bike rides, and like that's really nice. But our real focus is like, how much can people do and how much can they participate? And then we make it accessible so people can do as much as humanly possible, for themselves and with their loved ones. And so, just an example, the woman on top, that's our wheelchair transport bike. We can actually wheel an entire chair onto a platform on the front. It's got an electric assist, so that people who need to be passive and stay in their wheelchairs can still get out riding, and their caregivers get out for a ride. But down at the bottom, that's that same person here on the back of a tandem recumbent trike, because we realized after she participated a couple times that she had that ability with the right adaptations. And so now she actively participates when she comes cycling. So that's just something we work on. And then I say, the answer whenever possible, and it's almost always possible, is yes. So, people come and sometimes we have no idea how we're going to make it work, but we do, and we figure it out every time. We focus quite a bit as an organization on risk management. We have what we call essential eligibility criteria for participation. That's like the minimum things people need to be able to do. Depends on the program. Every program, we write up a report of how it went. We collect objective and subjective data. We do a program risk rating so we can analyze like when are incidents happening, what are the causes, and it's very, very rare, I should say, that we have an incident, but we collect all of this data, and we collect data on near misses too, so we can use that to help prevent, kind of inform how we're running things. We do a tremendous amount of staff training. We do use volunteers, but we use volunteers in very specific roles. And then we maintain, test our equipment, and make sure it's all in good working order. And this is just sort of give you a sense of the variety of cycles that we have to offer. We travel around in a box truck. We have a 16-foot box truck that fits a lot of our bikes, but we have more that doesn't fit. So this is a recumbent trike up front. It's got two wheels in the front, one in the back. That design leads to a lot of stability. So there are other recumbent trikes that have one wheel in the front and two in the back. The steering is a little squirrelier. And on this style trike, if one wheel goes off the side of a bike path or bumps against the curb, you still have two wheels on the ground. But with the one wheel in front, there's a little more room for something to go wrong if that wheel goes off. And that's Patch. He's one of our stars, his service pup that comes along. Over here we have hand cycles. There's different styles of hand cycles. People can pedal with their arms. And then we have here a whole family heading out for a ride with a hand cycle, recumbent trike. That's a different style wheelchair tandem where a person transfers to a wheelchair seat on the front of a bike and can get out riding. And then this is another very happy rider on our wheelchair transport bike, people who are more comfortable staying in their own chairs. I also just wanted to draw attention to the state parks, to the Universal Access Program. It's really robust. We're a vendor, so we're a contractor with Universal Access. There's other organizations that run programs with them, and they do a tremendous amount of statewide support. Everything from beach wheelchairs to accessible cycling to, as you see, golfing and all kinds of things to make the outdoors accessible. And I'll leave you with this. We also do, as an organization, we do adaptive equipment rentals. That's relatively new in about the last year, but we've had people like take a wheelchair tandem on a family trip to Block Island and, different bikes and hiking wheelchairs going out on the Cape. So it's just another way, like rather than having our whole organization and box truck come out somewhere to run a program, somebody can on their own use one of our cycles or some of our other adaptive equipment, for a week or two at a time and access the outdoors. This photo is from a local food bank fundraising ride called We'll Bike for Food. We supported that, and we had a whole group of very happy cyclists participating in this big ride. So that's something where I was trying to do is take community events and things that are already happening and figure out how do we make it accessible to people who are living with disabilities. So that is who we are and what we're up to, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Karen, how many people participate in your programming throughout the year? Do you have an annual count?
Yeah,
And do you see a trend?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just got it. So in 2024, we have one more program to go, but we've run 221 programs. We served about 2,700 people with disabilities and 3,700 people in total. So the difference there is family members, caregivers, things like that. We have a lot of repeat people. I don't have like a 100% accurate count on that. But there's probably about 750 to 800 individuals. And then to get up to the, 3,700 is people coming repeatedly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So I know you mentioned you were going to Brockton for ice skating.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys do any, or have you had any other events in the OCPC region, like in the past, or any other ones coming
Can
up?
you tell me the whole catchment area, like what the boundaries are?
So it's we start in the west. The westernmost is Easton, Stoughton,
Okay.
Avon, then we go all the way to Plymouth.
Got it.
And the towns in between.
Is Fall River part of that?
No.
Oh, okay. Because we'll come skating in Fall River.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe just geography, because the Universal Access Program is based in Amherst as well, and we're trying to like spread it all out. So skating is what we've done in your area. We have done some programming down on the Cape, but there's also Cape Able down there, doing some other things on the Cape. So we don't do a ton that way, but we're always up for road trips.
Okay.
Oh, and Alexis, you came on the Great Tree Ride. Awesome. That was so fun. It was like a 5-mile ride to visit historical trees in Northampton. It was another event that was happening that we made accessible to riders with disabilities. It was super cool.
Nice. All right, thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Share my screen again. Okay, so we'll move on to projects in the OCPC region, and Sean will be taking care of this item.
Yes, thank you, Kyle. Two of the projects that are in the OCPC region that we'll be discussing today. The first one is in the town of Abington. It's project number 612770, intersection improvements at Route 18 Bedford Street and Route 123 Brockton Avenue. Work on this project consists of traffic signal upgrades and geometric improvements, and multimodal upgrades will be incorporated within the given constraints. And then the second project is in the town of Stoughton. It's project number 613277, intersection improvements at Route 27 Park Street and Turnpike Street. Work on this project includes geometric, safety, and traffic operational improvements. The proposed design incorporates turning lanes on all approaches, geometric improvements that will provide a shorter crossing distance for pedestrians, bicycle accommodations, and a new sidewalk along the northwest side of Turnpike Street, and a shared use path along the southeast side up to the Campanelli Industrial Parkway. And now I invite Barbara LaChance to provide any updates that she has on her end.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, so both of these projects are in the pre-25% design phase. Abington, we are awaiting for a revised 25% design alternative for this project. It's due anytime now, probably the end of this month, with reviews being possibly into the new year. This one here, once we get to this revised alternative and we get to reviewing it and look at it, we're going to set up a meeting. The project manager first will set up a meeting with the town to go through this, to make sure we have, our absolute town, buy-in and input into the alternatives that we're looking at. So they will be reaching out. And then once we have the meeting with the town, then they can move forward, to proceed with the preparation of the 25% design submission for that project. The Stoughton one is a little bit, it's preliminary. It's a little bit, not as far along as Abington is actually. It's still in the ICE phase, which is the intersection control evaluation stage. We have gone through stage 2, but we need a revision for that. So we're in awaiting for that to come in. And that one also is due in over the holidays with review through the new year. And hopefully once that comes in, if we don't have to move past stage 2, we should be on track for a 25% submission in August. I mean, if we do have to go to stage 3, obviously that'll be pushed out a little bit. So at least both projects are moving along. So that's good.
Glad to hear it. Thank you very much, Barbara.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Barbara or I? Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Sean and Barbara. All right, moving on. OCPC's Matthew Dyer will be taking the next few items.
Thanks, Kyle. So the first thing that I'd like to present today is a collaborative project that we're really excited about here at OCPC. We've been working with Safe Routes to School and MassDOT and the Brockton school system to bring what's known as a traffic garden or a bike town. There's a couple popping up around in the region, a couple up in Boston, as well as Newport, Rhode Island. For those who don't know what it is, it's essentially it's like the play mat growing up with that you could drive your cars on. That's a little town. So, but a lot larger for folks, for kids to be able to ride their bikes, learn about safe biking and education, and overall just to have fun. And we've been working with, as I said, the Brockton school system, Safe Routes to School, and MassDOT. We're hoping to have this project completed by May 2025. And we have Bonnie from Safe Routes to School. Bonnie, did you want to throw anything in? I know this is off script, but if not, no worries. But I figured I'd give you the opportunity as well.
I think we're just really excited about the partnership and working on this project just to get kids safely riding on the streets and doing more safety education in the schools.
Thank you. Next slide. Any questions on this, I guess? Sorry. All right, hearing none. The next thing that I wanted to report out on is Beat the Bay State. Beat the Bay State was hosted by Walk Massachusetts. It encouraged folks to get out and collaboratively walk 900 miles, which is the perimeter of the Commonwealth during the month of November. Participants could join individually or as a team to track their miles. And the whole idea was to promote healthy activity while exploring the local areas and walking routes. Next slide, please. And not to brag or anything, but Old Colony Planning ranked the highest among the regional planning agencies. So good job, team. Next slide, please. Lastly, I just wanted to share this opportunity for the Mass Trails Grant. This is a great opportunity for communities to receive funding to help support recreational trails or shared use path projects in their communities. There's different levels of maximum awards depending on what kind of project it is. The first max out is for about 100,000 for just recreational trails. And then the other projects could be maxed out at about 500,000 for shared use paths, so ped and bike, with regional significance. Applications are due on February 3rd. For more information, you can visit mass.gov/guides/masstrails-grants. And we encourage folks to work with their regional planning agencies to help get that regional significance. And that's all I have to report today.
Awesome, thank you. And going forward, so that covers our all our agenda items for today. Does anybody have any comments or discussion they'd like to talk about before we move forward? So our next meetings, I can't believe it's 2025 already, but our next one's March 19th, 2025. And then instead of 3 months in between, we're going to be doing the one in May, 2 months in between the March one to coincide with Bike Month. So that'll be on May 21st of 2025.
Can I ask a question of OCPC?
Yeah, of course.
So there were some emails exchanged. So as I said, Mary asked or pledged OCPC could do a traffic study of that particular intersection. And so Bill McNulty wrote the Brockton Police Department looking for the accident data. So my specific question is he wrote, our road safety audit will include traffic data collection and analysis, including an all-way stop control warrant analysis. So my question is, would the geometry question, like the slip lanes, would that be part of that analysis too? Or is it just about stop signs, to be blunt? Do you happen to know?
So there are a couple different things going on. One is with regard to the multi-way stop, the manual on uniform traffic control devices has specific requirements or warrants to have to be met before multi-way stop would be warranted. So what Bill was referring to was our data collection will show whether or not it meets the volume warrants for a multi-way stop. That's part of it. And part of it too is based on the crash reports provided by the police department. One of the warrants too is, are there more than 5 or more correctable crashes by the installation of a multi-way stop, like the right angle crashes? So we'll have to look at that, the crash reports from the PD and make a determination on that as well. And then secondarily to your question about the geometry and the flared corners, that would be undertaken as part of the actual road safety audit. So we'll have a presentation, but then do a site walk of the actual location with the DPW, fire department, police department. As part of group walk, we're going to walk MA, the abutters, etc., to come to it and provide specific site recommendations. And we'll bring that up as far as the discussion. And one of the things we can look at is truck turning templates to see how that fits on the intersection. And some of these intersections were designed very wide back in the 60s, and there's been efforts in communities, through Complete Streets to make it, sometimes a smaller cross section or a road diet, and to make it more of a 90-degree. Because as you pointed out, there's like the people doing that right turn at that intersection. So
Yeah.
And there's no channelized islands in the middle, which I would think would be beneficial.
Right, and to be clear, I mean, we weren't advocate. I mean, a stop on Grove Street. Based on the statistics about the speed at which people hit and whether they survive or not, that girl probably would have been dead if she'd been hit by a car speeding on Grove Street. Right, just to be honest. So, but also as I learn more about the topic, I'm starting to understand that stop signs alone are really not a panacea. The drivers, for example, often speed up after the stop sign to make up for lost time. So definitely interested in the other interventions that get people to slow down.
Yeah, along those lines, speeding. One of the strategies, I know the Commonwealth has that opportunity for communities to opt into the 25 mile an hour in thickly settled or business zones. If you or anybody else on the call has had any experience with that and how beneficial that is. And I know the state has a listing of what communities have opted in and where.
From the research, and again, it's online research, but it's by Safe Streets kind of advocates, Livable Cities kind of advocates. But if their data is correct, the mere lowering of the speed limits, which a lot of municipalities do, alone doesn't really make a difference. Unless maybe you've got enforcement, cameras or that kind of thing, that they're just really about changing the physical infrastructure, which of course here in Brockton, since we don't even pay for traffic lights out of our own budget, the chances of getting some of that done, the prospects aren't the best, but
I'll drop a link to this opportunity in the chat.
Yeah.
And it has a list of the communities that have opted in.
So I guess to be blunt, I mean, our group is not going to put a lot of energy into lowering these, the fundamental speed limit. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, but meanwhile, it's going to provoke, a lot of backlash and anger. I mean, we have people, as anyone who lives in Brockton, we have people regularly blowing through red lights. I mean, I'll go drive out right now and I'll see it at least 4 times. So, I mean, what are they going to do with speed limits? I appreciate where you're coming from. I know we need all the options, but.
I just wanted to say that the Mass Bike annual meeting is coming up on January 25th in Worcester. And it's going to be a site on site for the first time in like 5 years.
Oh, nice.
Been just only remote. And we're trying to get it in the middle of the state, so it's easier for people to come in from all over.
All right. Anybody else? Final comments, questions? All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. And we'll see everyone next year in 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you guys.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.